Well, thanks for coming on. Really appreciate it, John.
Hey, man, I appreciate you having me.
I'll do a little intro, but then definitely jump in. So,
Sure.
I try to do some some research on you, and definitely found you've done a lot of different stuff. So,
Sure. Yeah.
uh, John, started off in the business slash entrepreneurship game. I saw when you were like 19, I think, is when you said you first started.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. Okay. And he's done a lot of different things from starting an online MMA company to then actually working with the UFC and doing a lot of marketing with them, bouncing over and worked a lot with Muscle Farm back in the day, and then has even started his own supplement brand with Corey Gregory, who we've had on the podcast. And now has also started something called CBD Social, which I'd love to talk about a little more. And you're from Chicago, so when I had heard that on your guys' podcast, Business and Biceps, I was pumped to talk to you.
100%, man. Yeah, from Chicagoland area. Grew up in Oak Brook. Went to the Downers Grove's school systems, but yeah, it's been a journey. Never went to college, but yeah, I do hail from the Chicagoland area. That's for
That's
sure.
awesome. I'm in Elmhurst now, so right down the
Oh,
road.
very,
So
very
there you go.
nice.
Yeah.
York. We
Yeah.
used to beat you guys, man. We used to beat you guys.
Too funny. No,
Yeah.
that's awesome. So I'd love to you just kick it off with, on this podcast, I talk a lot about investing and really not just investing, but anything finance related. And I thought with you coming on, it'd be awesome to talk a little bit more about starting businesses and your experience with, good, bad, and the ugly of being an entrepreneur. Obviously I know from your podcast, you also are a big investor. So there's lots of things I love to jump into. But the first thing I kind of wanted to ask was, you've started a lot of businesses, and it seems like you've started a lot of different types of businesses. Do you
Yeah.
have any suggestions to people on what's like step number one when you go to like think about your next venture? Like, how do you go from 0 to 1? What's like the first thing you really try to do?
So I don't think about my next venture. I think a crucial part of going from 0 to 1 is identifying an opportunity that one connects with who you are and what you're interested in. And two, when you kind of model it out, you could see how it makes fiscal sense. So I think a lot of people want to quote unquote start a business. So they look, right.
Right.
They look for that thing to start. I can say, man, I've started, over 10, and I never was looking to do that. Opportunities presented themselves. I modeled them out to figure out if there was actually money there. So, so my opportunity cost, could be repaid. And from that point, you got to let your vision drive you. But for those people just seeking, I don't know what I want to do. Dude, you can't force it. You can't force it. It has to be something that you see, you identify, and then the drive is like fucking insane. Like nobody has to tell you anything. No one has to, you don't kind of know if you
Okay.
want to do it. You
Sure.
want to do it.
Yeah. Do you have to at the same time kind of just block out the noise from people telling you either it's a bad
Oh,
idea or yeah, okay. Yeah.
everybody, okay, if you do start a business, if it's a business that you're stoked on or whatever, everybody is going to tell you, oh my God, it's so risky. Because guess what? It is fucking risky.
Sure.
Can I swear on the show?
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yes, go
All right.
ahead.
Okay. So it is risky. It is. They're right. They're right. But
Yeah.
that shouldn't slow you down if you have done what I like to call your like unemotional homework on it, where you have looked at it and you have figured out how to make money, where like how big the margins are, and how to execute on it. Like everybody is going to tell you, beware, be careful, beware, be careful. Yeah, because over 90% of small businesses fail. They're right. But if you have it inside of you and you understand what you're getting into, and you've put the emotion aside of like the fantasy of being the business owner guy, and you're ready to rock, do fuck what everyone else says. No one will ever understand what you want.
Sure.
Period.
Yeah. Right.
Period. You could do it 5 times. They're never going to get it. So don't look for others' approval. do your own research, do your own homework, and come to your own conclusions.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that totally makes sense. Have you seen, I guess, through all the different ventures you've done, and I've heard this from a couple of entrepreneurship podcasts, and I love the question. Do you feel like, for example, when you did the marketing business with the UFC, when you joined and helped with marketing at Muscle Farm, and then even starting Max Effort, did you feel like you were finding gaps in the market on all those business ventures? Do you feel like some of it was, timing, and you figured out, a need at the right time?
You're exactly right. It was gaps in the marketplace that interested me. And then I did what I said earlier. I kind of modeled them out to figure out if there was money there. So if I took all my focus, my energy, my passion, and put it into these gaps, can I be repaid, or can I build something that's substantial? And the answer is absolutely yes. So with the marketing and the Muscle Farm. So I never worked for Muscle Farm. I actually built one of the biggest sports marketing agencies in the UFC. And basically what we did is we facilitated companies like Muscle Farm. We facilitated their spending because they did not know what certain things cost when you do ad buys in the UFC, or you sponsor specific fighters. So they would funnel all their money through my company, and they would say, here's the deliverables. We want 80 fighters over the course of a year. We want to be on the ring. We want to be on the canvas and all this stuff. And I did that for, not only Muscle Farm, but probably 30 other clients. And then from that, because all the athletes understood that the money was coming through my business, the athletes wanted to be managed by my business because they knew they would get high sponsorship yields. So that was that, because I found a gap in the marketplace, because when I went in, there was no such thing as a UFC sponsorship tax. So sponsors could come in. It doesn't matter if it was Call of Duty or a big movie, and they could spend as much as they want on marketing, and they did not have to pay the UFC $1. So for me, I don't have to piece off the UFC, and there's enormous margins because they have no clue what things cost, and I have all these relationships.
Right.
So yeah, it was major timing. I exited when I exited because not only did the UFC implement a tax that was into the six figures or more, but they kept going higher and higher. So I went in there, capitalized on that time frame for about 4 to 5 years, and then when they tightened the screws on it and made it very difficult, I chose to exit and get compensated for what I did.
Awesome. That's fantastic. How did you even get involved with the UFC? That seems like an uphill battle alone, just trying to get in with them.
Yeah, so it was all through it was all through like my passion for MMA. So I used to train, and then from training I decided, because shit, we're talking 2004,
Mhm.
2005. I decided that, this sport is legit. Like, this could be the next big fucking thing, and I love it. So
Yeah,
what I
sure.
did is I opened up an online retailer. We had success really fast, so that I then parlayed that into a physical retail location, and then I parlayed that into another physical retail location that had an MMA gym inside of it. So now we had 3 prongs. We had online, we had straight retail, and then we had an MMA training studio. So we had enough money to start sponsoring fighters in the UFC with MMA Stop. And when you start sponsoring fighters in the UFC, obviously you build relationships with fighters. You build relationships with fighters and you treat them well, they start to respect you. And from there, a handful of fighters started saying, hey man, like, you're a straight dude, would you manage me? And this was very
Oh,
early
wow.
on. You didn't need a law degree. You didn't need anything. They just needed somebody, because these dudes are straight fighters back in the day, and they
Right.
still obviously are. They needed somebody they could trust, that knew their way around the business world. So that's how I got in. And then with the fighters, when I would negotiate contracts, obviously I would have to do that with the UFC. And that's kind of how it went.
Gotcha. That's awesome. That's so cool. I
Yeah.
think it's interesting. You were, even back then, you capitalized on being an e-commerce business. That's kind of like what a lot of my background's in.
Sure.
And currently I work for a company called RX Bar. It's like protein bars. I don't know if you've
Oh, okay.
ever heard of that.
Absolutely. I'm very,
Yeah.
very familiar. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So I've been there since 2017, like right when we sold to Kellogg. It was a big exit we had.
Sure.
And so I've kind of been there from 2017 now through, halfway through 2020, and seeing that business evolve so much. And when I was talking to Corey, it kind of reminded me too, that I wanted to ask you. We went from heavy e-commerce, like we got really popular by going direct to consumer to a lot of the CrossFit gyms. We kind of did the CrossFit realm. That's where we like really started. And we were really successful online. And then it's interesting from there to see like the challenges that come with selling to retail locations, like vitamin shops, the GNCs, all of those, and then into obviously like grocery and Costco.
Right.
So I've thought it's so interesting that with Max Effort, you guys are doing just D2C. And I would love to know a
Correct.
little bit more like why, and I've seen the pros and cons from RX Bar, but I'd be curious to hear from your guys' supplement perspective.
Sure. So at the end of the day, there's two ways I think fundamentally to look at business, right? It's you get in business to grow, scale, and push. That's great. And many people could build, 9-figure, 10-figure, 11-figure companies that way. But there's another way to do it. If your lifestyle dictates, or if your personality dictates, you can actually go into business and build slowly but surely relationships with consumers, not straddle yourself with debt, not be a quote unquote top line guy who's always borrowing to push the top line higher, but doesn't have any bottom line profit to take home and put in his pocket. So when we look at Max Effort Muscle and we look at going into retail, okay, so we have to pay for shelf space. We have to give them tens of thousands of dollars worth of product, and we're a new brand in there. And if we sell, we're making 1/3 of what we make on a direct sale. So if I make $5 million direct, or if I make 15 million, through a partner like GNC or Vitamin Shop, I am making so much more money on that 5 million. So I'm not into being a CEO rock star, this and that. Those guys go and they borrow money, and again, I'm not blaming them. I'm into taking money home, putting it in my pocket, always supporting the business with what it needs to grow.
Mm-hmm.
But I like to do things slowly but surely. And I've had a history in my career of putting money in my pocket. And that's how I like to do business. But I completely understand the other route. That's just not my style.
Yeah, no, it totally makes sense. Is that, have you felt like it's been successful thus far? Because you guys have been doing it for a little while now, and it seems like things are, up and up at Max Effort every time I hear about you guys talking.
Yeah, so we have never had a down year. Right now, we're probably, with this whole pandemic thing, whether it's the lack of availability in grocery, or people aren't comfortable going to grocery, or this or that, we are as hot as we've ever been.
That's awesome.
So Max Effort has been a astounding success. If someone looked at our balance sheet, they'd want to take us public 100%.
That's awesome.
I have no interest though. So
yeah. So your plan is basically you guys are just going to hold on to it, and this will be a kind of a cash flow business for you guys, sounds like.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things when you build a business that has a good customer base that likes your product, and you continue to not only keep the products that they love, but evolve and push the limits of those products. You have something that's reoccurring. I mean, it's eerie, right? So anyone who knows Max Effort, we give a lot to our customers through deals because we can afford to, right? Because we're not paying the GNC or the Vitamin Shop, so we have bigger margins.
Right.
We can almost predict to the thousand how much money we're going to make when we do a certain deal. And that's because our customer base is so cauterized, it's so tight, and they're so loyal. So it's like when you have a business like that, there's no need to change it up. I understand accelerating and putting your foot on the gas to try to grow it. But at the end of the day, we don't need to incur debt because we're extremely healthy. Everyone's winning. Everyone's making money. The business is growing and the customers love the product.
That's awesome. Yeah, it seems like you guys have a really like a cult following, which is awesome to see, especially in the supplement industry. I've been lifting weights and taking supplements since college in like 2010, and you guys are one of the few brands that I feel like I've ever followed that doesn't feel just like a brand on a shelf at GNC, if that makes sense. You guys actually are just interacting and doing so much more through your website that I think all these other brands are super far behind on.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at any industry, the supplement industry, obviously we'll use that as an example. Everybody wants to put out a guy who looks like he's 290 pounds, ripped to the bone, or a chip, all these unattainable physiques unless you use drugs, right? And they say, you
Yeah.
take this product, you look like this. I think the consumer has gotten a little bit smarter. You know what
Right.
I'm saying?
Sure.
Like,
Yeah.
and I don't know if it's as cool as it used to be to walk around at fucking whatever height you are and weigh 290 pounds and be clinically obese, regardless of the amount of muscle you have. So we basically said, okay, not only do we want to represent something differently, but we need to identify differently. That's why our brand doesn't look like a normal supplement brand. We don't market like a normal supplement brand, and our products are different. So we really wanted to say to the industry and say to our customer base, we're different, man. We don't use drugs, and we're all about supporting fitness in almost a fun way.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It definitely seems that way. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you guys, and you specifically through all your different, business ventures, is there anything to be said about, like bootstrapping versus, taking on money? I know like in the few small companies I've worked with and worked for, it seems like bootstrapping has its own pros and cons, but I'd be
Sure.
curious through all the things you've done. Have you ever taken money? Have you always done it just bootstrapped, or, have you done a lot of your businesses?
So I've always bootstrapped it, but I mean I've sold off parts of my companies as I own them. So it wasn't like a money raise. It was like a client that I worked with or someone I knew identifying what was going on and saying, hey, I want in. So I would just sell an equity stake. It wasn't like a raise to raise money.
Right,
Essentially,
right, right.
it was selling equity in something that other people identified as, I want to be a part of that. So I think the benefit of bootstrapping is this. It's just like how people view the government with money. If you are using somebody else's money, you do not value it like it's your own, because it did not come out of your checking account. You did not work for it. So you are not going to be a steward of that money like if it came out of your account.
Right.
So therein lies the office that looks great, the 14 employees that you can't afford because somebody wrote you a check that's not yours. And if it fails, psychologically, whether it be conscious or unconscious, you don't feel like you're losing. You feel like, oh, this is what I should do. So when you bootstrap it, man, it's like, okay, this is my time. I have to fucking make money. The only way I can make money is if the business makes money. Like you get to profitability so much faster. And once you bootstrap it to profitability, at that point, you could look at bringing in money because you understand the systems and how to make money and how to scale and this and that. But I don't recommend anybody just goes in and raises money without bootstrapping it at least once or twice, because you need to feel every level of pressure to, I believe, be a good operator.
Yeah, that makes sense. So really having like that skin in the game, they say, right? Like,
Absolutely.
yeah. Yeah. Cause I think, I feel like a lot of people that, start businesses and take on money right away, you also lose control of, the basically the direction the company can go in, which I think
Absolutely.
is, detrimental early on.
That's a fact.
That's super interesting. Um, I think from another business perspective, so I've followed you and Corey for a while on business in biceps. It's kind of how I got to, listen to a lot of your guys' conversations around business and investing. And just recently heard this week that you guys are calling it quits on the show. So I just wanted to, ask if are you guys going in a new direction? Or you have new ideas that you want to run with? I was just curious as I heard that.
Yeah. So what's interesting about that show is, man, that show was never planned. It just happened. And
Oh, really?
obviously,
So you guys never, it wasn't like you guys mapped that all out and planned to do all that.
no,
Oh, that's
no,
crazy.
we were just starting a business once I sold out of my company VFD and he sold out of Muscle Farm, and we just started talking and we're like, hey, let's record these conversations. So
That's awesome.
that's how that started. And then obviously Maurice Claret was a third, who is a great addition to that podcast. You know, Maurice had business interests that took him in a different direction, and now with me and Corey, you know, when time goes by and you have so many interests, I, I think people's schedules and what they're interested in doing and how they're interested in doing it, it just changes. And I think, you know, because we are partners in Max Effort Muscle, I think you have to always like respect the potential growth of another person. If like, listen, the last thing I want to do is sit on a podcast with someone who doesn't want to be there, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Or they could say the same about me, right? So I
Right.
understand if someone doesn't want to be on a podcast with me, if I don't want to be there. So it's all respect, but you know, things change and we move on. And that's kind of what we're doing with the business and biceps. But I got to tell you, man, the amount of messages I've been getting just from people that like chose to tell a story about how the show affected them, it's it's starting to push me back towards, you know, the microphone, because you never know that stuff until people choose to open up. And
Right.
man, so many people since we said it's over have chose to open up, and you know, that affects me. So
Yeah, I bet, man. It was interesting to me. I mean, I probably have listened to you guys for close to a year now, consistently. And when I saw that episode pop up, I was like, "Oh, it's supposed to be a joke." You know what I mean? Like they're not quitting. They you know they're doing all this stuff. But no, I would have to agree, man. You guys put out some great content. You guys are open and honest, and
appreciate it.
I'm
Thank
sure
you.
you guys will find awesome things to do. But I think
Absolutely.
the next thing I was going to ask you was, I haven't been able to find a ton of information on it, but I'm interested in the space as well. So I wanted to ask you was CBD Social, which is like your newest venture.
Sure.
Just if you could kind of walk through just like how you came about the idea and really what the goal of that business is.
Sure. So we were dealing with the thought of bringing it in um, to Max Effort Muscle, uh, and we started kind of talking to people who had farms that were extracting this stuff, and this was a couple years back. And I'm somebody that I used to have an opioid issue in the past, and I have some anxiety, and I took this stuff and I was like, fuck man, like this kills my anxiety. Like fuck Clonopin, like which I get prescribed, like this stuff kills my anxiety. And then you just do more and more research on it, and people are using it for pain. And then we just started studying all the different applications, and we're like, okay, this is just like you know, I feel timing, right, was part of what we talked about with the UFC.
Yeah.
This is the time to make a move in this space, because three things: pain, anxiety, sleep.
Right.
All, everybody almost suffers from one of those things.
Sure. Definitely.
And CBD, I think people are tired of being lied to by doctors and just being prescribed things that they cannot get off. Obviously, we have the opioid epidemic. People are struggling with, you know, benzos, which are given for anxiety. And just, I think people are more aware now, dude, just because a doctor writes a script doesn't mean it's safe. And so when you find something that's actually natural that benefits you, it's pretty amazing. So we went out, we acquired a piece of a farm in Oregon where we felt the best hemp was from a potency standpoint, and we have full processing capabilities, and we, again, just like Max, are direct to consumer. So we're
Oh,
completely
okay.
vertically integrated.
Yeah, I was
We
gonna say you're like completely vertically integrated.
completely, which makes us different. And the model we've taken on, because we're vertically integrated and because we got a prime piece of real estate on King Street in Charleston, South Carolina, which is a tourist hub and also has 5 colleges and it's just a large economy. We're like, okay, we need to bring a different style of CBD to people, because CBD is very sterile. It's very sterile. Oh, take this, and we're like, why can't we implement almost like a bakery model? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
From flavor profiles to different applications, and why can't we make it smaller batches more often so things are fresh and I
yeah,
mean, anything you ingest, why have it taste like shit when it doesn't have to? You know what I'm
sure.
saying?
Oh yeah.
And if we keep the synthetic crap out of it and we find ways, just like supplements, to make things taste better, make the applications more efficient, this would be a differentiator in this industry. So when you look at CBD brands, they're very sterile. They look like something that, probably would come from a doctor's office or the pharmacy. You look at our brand, it's very fun. It's very colorful. And to me, that's what it's all about, because CBD does help people socialize, and it does help people just kind of, there's so many people who have like untreated anxiety and all this stuff. It helps people. So it doesn't need to be a sterile looking, like, here's your prescription type deal. So yeah, what we work on is stuff that is obviously extremely potent. All of our hemp is West Coast hemp. All of our all of our blends come from West Coast hemp, and our flavor profiles are second to none.
That's awesome. I didn't realize you
Yeah.
guys were. I guess I didn't realize all those different components of CBD Social. So do you guys
Oh,
have like a website too, and so you're D2C that way, or
oh,
is it? Yeah,
100%. Yeah,
got it.
yeah.
Okay.
So the website's been growing, like, I don't know, probably 50% month over month.
Oh
Yeah.
damn. Okay. Wow. Holy smokes. I had no idea. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Do you guys plan on opening more physical locations? Or are you guys just using that as like a hub to kind of spread the word?
So, what's cool is, like, we have a really interesting location down here where our revenue producing area is about 400 square feet. Our non-revenue producing area is about 1,000 square feet.
Oh
So
wow.
we have this lounge which I'm in now, because where we're at is so community based. So we do things like, like live music here, art. We get the community involved that way, and that way we also educate as well. So when you talk about a second location, we were about 2 or 3 days away from securing a second location before COVID hit.
Oh
So
shit. Yeah.
yeah, so it's one of those things that the answer is yes. Yeah.
Okay. Timing again. That's good. That was
Yeah.
good timing, right? Again.
Great timing,
Yeah.
because then you're writing that rent check and nobody could come in. But again, that's why you have to have a great online component, because nothing can stop online business.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's kind of been a huge learning lesson for me. I've worked at Walmart.com and then really have like led the transition at RX Bar with e-commerce. And so I resonate with a lot of the things you guys are doing. It's just like that is gonna be a leader for a long time, in my opinion. And I think it's a space that's not going away anytime soon, and it's growing. Um, and so, yeah, when you kind of just hit my next question, I was curious on you have a lot of different business ventures. I know you're an investor. How have you navigated and tried to made it through COVID? How much has that impacted your businesses, and what are some things you've been trying to do?
So my, this is, everybody's different, right? We all think differently, but my take on things like that are, okay, this is what's happening. I can't change it, so I'm not going to even pretend like it fucking affects me, because I have to deal with it. I have responsibilities. These businesses have to keep running. So it's not like, oh shit, COVID. It's immediate solution mode. So it's, how is this world and how is the consumer going to change their behavior during this time? So, we'll talk about the two businesses that we've discussed, CBD Social and Max Effort Muscle. Number one, a lot of the time that people had during quarantine, or whatever you want to call it, they were working out.
Mm,
Okay. But they couldn't go to GNC Vitamin Shop. So all those people who consistently go there, now we have a greater sales channel because they're locked out of what they're doing. So we pushed very hard to capture those people through different online initiatives. And then with CBD, what happens when there's recession on the rise and all this stuff? People go to things that make them feel better.
Right.
CBD makes you feel better. So once again, the door that normally brings in a shit ton of money is locked. Well, it's locked. Game over. Not thinking about it anymore. What do we need to do online to get the word out so we can soothe people's mind, help them relax, and curb the anxiety? We got to up our game. So yeah, I mean, COVID has it hit us? Yeah, it's hit our door here because we do have a lot of retail income that walks through the door, but we pivoted very fast. We have wholesale accounts here as well.
Okay.
And it, I mean, we're fucking healthy,
Yeah, that's great.
and I'm watching businesses all around me, because we're in a very high rent district, fall to the wayside, and we're healthy. It's because we're diversified, like you're talking about. It's because we can go wholesale. It's because we can sell online. It's because you can come through the door. It's because we will deliver to you. You have to diversify in times that just are like fucked up, right? Like COVID's
Right.
fucked up. So you have to be ready to change at a moment's notice and stop complaining about it.
Yeah, it seems like you're a very solutions-minded person, which I'm sure that's helped you just through entrepreneurship, your different ventures. It seems like you don't sit and complain about the problems. You're looking for solutions, which just seems like
Well,
good.
think about anybody who sits and complains about a problem. Eventually, they're going to have to get to a solution. So if they want to spend 2 weeks complaining about a problem, those are 2 weeks that they could have, as opposed to complaining about a problem, work towards a solution. So all they're doing is they're wasting their time. Time has a cost, i.e., they're wasting their money. So what the fuck are you doing outside of being a pussy? You know what
Right.
I'm saying? Like,
100%, man.
like I don't want you on my team. You're a fucking pussy. Get out of here.
Right. Right. That doesn't help for sure. Oh, 100%. Have
Yeah.
you, how has this time affected to switch to a kind of another realm, investing? Are you, I don't know what your like strategies
Sure.
are, what you're
Yeah.
really into, but has all of this changed any of that, or have you
Yeah,
learned
of
anything
course.
through it?
Of course. So, as it relates to the market, I think you have to be agile as fuck right now because the market was flooded with liquidity, and that's, I believe, a big reason why the market has ran up after getting beat down. So when you see things that are not normal, if you've been in the market for some time, that the Dow doesn't swing 1,800 points or even 700 points for that matter. So when you see these swings is the street opening up gaps for you to trade on. That's what it is. So, we'll just take the most generic things I was talking about this morning. Like yesterday, the market got destroyed because COVID might be back. Well, today it's up. The airlines and the cruise lines, that's where speculators are throwing their cash. Got beat the fuck up yesterday. They're way up today. So in a time like this, I think if you have the time, I think you need to get in and get out of things. Sure, you have your longs, right? You have your
Sure.
longs that are going to be, in your mind, strong with uncertainty. Like, uncertainty doesn't matter. These are strong stocks you don't mess with. But if you are an active investor, I think you have to be agile right now. You have to move in and out of positions.
Do you, how do you structure a lot of your investing? Do you kind of, to your point, do you have a balance between long investments in companies you're bullish on long term, and then are you kind of day trading and getting into the weeds like daily, weekly?
So do I have a strategy? No. When I see something that I have taken enough time to fully understand, or I believe at least that I fully understand it, and I see it from all angles, I always like to run worst case scenarios on it. If I see that, I'll probably, dollar cost average a lot of money into it. For, those who aren't familiar, it's like if I see a stock, that I like, and I want to put $50,000 into it, I'll put, 5,000 into it this Monday. I'll put 5,000 into it next Monday. Sure, if it gets beat up out of nowhere,
Uh-huh.
for just because the market went down, I'm going to throw some money in.
Got it.
But
Yeah.
I don't follow a specific percentile this, percentile that. I'm a believer, if you've heard us on the show, that when you are younger and you have good income coming in, you have to take risks.
Mm-hmm.
When we get older, we can pull back. Right now, we have to take risks. So that's kind of how I do it.
How do you identify with like taking risks? Like what do you consider a risk, I guess, in the stock market today?
A risk would be having one position take up more than 25% of your portfolio.
Got it. So just de-diversifying yourself, essentially.
Correct.
Yeah. Right.
Correct.
Okay. Got it. No, that makes sense. Have you had any big winners through all this COVID time
Yeah.
frame?
I mean, yeah. I would say the biggest and the fastest have been, I, I would say, like, man, I got in DraftKings right when
Okay.
when they IPO'd. I don't know.
Yep.
I think they're probably up over 100%. I got in. I'm so long. I've talked about it on Shopify, and Shopify, I got in originally, I think around $160.
Oh, damn.
It's about, I think, 725. I've sold somewhere in between, but I'm a big believer in like Snap and Pinterest. I've done well on those, and yeah, man. I mean, there's certain stocks that I don't trade. I was trading the airlines. I trade some of the casino stocks, but I'm longer on specific technology stocks. Yeah.
Yeah, that's how I am too. I feel like, like the Amazons, Google, Facebook, a lot of the tech stocks, I almost feel like it's at the point where you could just keep putting money in consistently and just don't think about it today
I agree.
and hold on to it for a long ass time,
Yeah. And I think the biggest potential yield is like, I remember, I don't know if you were investing around the time when, Facebook was a hard $22 to $27 for like, 2 years post IPO. And everyone was like, dude, you're an idiot to buy Facebook. They don't know how to monetize. And like I watched that whole process. And then once they showed they knew how to make mobile ad revenue, like Google knew how to make desktop ad revenue through Google AdWords, then they exploded. I think, if you're looking at something with major upside, I still think it may be a year, but I think Snap has the most upside. Snap can go from 20 to 40, right? I don't think you're going to see Amazon go from 2,600 to 5,200. I think
Right.
Amazon is just a fucking safe bet because it's a beast. I own a lot of it. I love it. But I think, could what stock could legitimately double in that tech world? Snap, for sure.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Why are you so bullish on Snap? Just curious.
I'm bullish on Snap because I believe that people who are, let's say, 22, 24 and under, it's what they use to communicate. Like, I don't use it to communicate, but I pay attention to what they don't get hit with fees for texting. It's just kind of how they grew up. So those people have not had the time to mature into career roles. But in a couple years, those people are going to be older. That's their habit. They're going to keep using it. It's more geared towards young people than other platforms. So you're going to continue to add young people. And then when you've had this group of, let's say, 22-year-olds who are then 25-year-olds who then could start making purchasing decisions for companies because they're professionals, they're going to go where they understand. And I think the next generation understands that platform better.
Okay. Yeah, that totally makes sense. Are you on, I know you're not a huge social media guy, but I think it's interesting that you're paying attention to other people. I think people can use that as advice in anything with investing. I always try to like just talk to like my wife or like her friends and like understand like what they're doing and what they're selling. Even if you're not you're not like super interested in something, I think that doesn't mean, it's not a good investment opportunity, for example. And that's something I think a lot of people kind of get. I know a lot of people on here, especially listeners today that I've talked to, a lot of them are newer. So I think another good question for you, just kind of spin off of that, is like,
Sure.
what advice do you have for someone younger who just wants to get started in investing? Do you have any tips or
Yeah.
platforms or anything that you would suggest just to jump in and go?
I think Robinhood's a great platform. I think there's a lot of easy to understand education. The way they lay it out, it's very easy to understand. I think you need to um, put some money in. Let's say if you want to put in $5,000, put in $500 or $1,000, and you need to fucking research this stuff on a daily basis. You need to feel the market. And what I mean by feel the market is you need to be a part of days, with your money in there, not all your money in there, just a portion so you can get used to it. You need to feel when it's like, dude, why the fuck is the market getting beat up today? Like, why is every stock, right? If every stock's getting beat up, it doesn't have to do with the company.
Right.
Right. It has to do with the powers that be. It has to do with the narrative that's out there, and the people that are pushing that narrative are the ones who control billions and billions of dollars. Well, you could either understand the fact that when everything's red, that scares people because people don't like to lose money. And when they see red, oh my God, my portfolio's down. Well, the powers that be want you to sell. They want you to sell so they can get in that position at a lower price. Like you have to feel, and you have to go through that, and you need to be like, oh, I'm not going to get faked out this time. Fuck
Right.
that. It's down 11% today. I'm buying. I'm
Yeah.
not selling. Like fucking AT&T is not going out of business anytime soon, and it's down 12% today. I'm buying. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But when your emotions, see, everyone has a different risk tolerance. Your emotions get highly involved when when your portfolio should be $1,500 and it's at 620.
Yeah.
You feel like, oh my, you have to release your emotion. You have to be objective, and you have to understand how the market moves. The market moves in a manipulative way. So you could either fight the current and get destroyed. If you fight nature, you're going to get fucking run over, or you can play it. You can play it, but you have to understand what's going on, and you'll never understand it if you don't feel it, and let go of your emotions.
Right. So if you're basically, just kind of summarize some of that, if you're, someone who's never invested and you want to do like, those simulators or like fake investing, that's not gonna, you're not gonna feel the same
Yeah,
thing.
fuck the
Kind
fake
Yeah,
investing.
right.
Yeah,
Like, and that's the good thing about Robinhood. I talk about Robinhood all the time. And they have even, I don't know if you've seen, they have a new feature called partial shares, which, so you can buy, you can throw $5 in Amazon and then you'll get, 0.001 shares or whatever.
sure.
So that way, even if you're someone who doesn't have enough to cover one share of a expensive stock, you could still get in and create a diversified portfolio, which is awesome.
That's a great idea, because at the end of the day, it's like, okay, you buy a partial share of Amazon. Well, that partial share and your money going in is going to cause you, or at least should cause you, to read daily about Amazon, what it's doing, why it's doing it, what's on the horizon, what to look forward to, what is their earnings date, what are people project, like just all this stuff that you'll only get acquainted with if you put your money into the market.
100%. Yeah. I was gonna say, and I always tell people, I always use the Warren Buffett quote. It's more important it's a time in the market is more important than timing the market. And so if you're someone who can just consistently, it doesn't matter how much it is. If you're someone who gets a paycheck every 2 weeks and you can throw $100 into the market every 2 weeks and treat it like especially on Robinhood, because the liquidity and getting the money back is so quick, you can almost treat it as like a second savings account if you want to. It's just the consistency with anything else, right? It's like just the
Dude,
consistency of putting money in, testing it, investing it, to your point, following the news. Like that's something that a lot of my friends that have really gotten into it from listening to this recently, they're like, yeah, I just feel like it's all I do. I'm just like always looking at the news about these companies I'm invested in, and you feel like you're a part of it. I'm like, yeah, that's kind of the whole point, right? And
exactly.
then when they win, you win, and it's exciting. You're part of the economy in a bigger
Yeah, you're
sense.
part of the economy, and it's a lot of people think speculating, aka buying individual equities or stocks, is like gambling. But the difference is, for people who view it that way, when you gamble, like if you bet on a baseball game, when the game's over, you either won your money or you lost your money. Well, if you buy a stock and it gets beat up, you didn't lose unless you sell.
Right.
So it's not like that. You just have to have some brass balls sometimes, and you have to weather storms. The market's cyclical, period. It goes up, it goes down, but historically it continually rises.
Right. Yeah. Over time. And that's what I always say too, is, if you look at the averages over the years, as long as you're not someone who quickly reacts to bad news and just stay in, keep moving your money around and really just keep adding money to it, you're going to put yourself in a good place over time. Are you, speaking of taking risk, I would say like the flip side of risk, and I'm curious your stance here. Are you someone who is only looking for like growth stocks? Are you involved in any do you have like anything in your portfolio that's focused on dividends at all? Like,
No,
no.
I'm too young for dividends. Listen, it's like dividends. Again, this goes to risk tolerance, right? And I respect everybody's risk tolerance. But dividend stocks are severely slow growth, and that's why they pay a dividend. But if you look at what a dividend is, it's just paying you something that will, if you choose, go back into the market and get reinvested. Well, if you have a stock, that increases by 7%, okay, that's growth of your portfolio. That's essentially being invested back in the market because you're not liquidating it.
Yeah.
So I'm not really interested in dividend stocks. Listen, I have money in mutual funds, and that money I have someone manage it. I don't manage it. The stocks I manage, I'm not going for dividends. I'm going for things that I identify as what's next, what's on the come up. And do I win all the time? No, but I win more than I lose, and that's the trick to this game, dude.
Yeah. Right. Okay. So that's interesting. So you kind of hire someone out to manage your mutual funds, and then the money you're investing, that's like your growth. That's like your growth stocks you're looking for.
Yeah, that's my aggressive. Those are my aggressive funds. So, the way I look at mutual funds is, you're going to get your 8% a year, but it's money that I forget that I have.
Right.
So it's just like, okay, take it, it's over here. But as time has gone on, and I've dealt with financial crashes in the market. I mean, the return is much higher when you manage your own shit. Now I'll preface that, or put an asterisk by it. You have to understand and research, like we just talked about. But if you do that stuff, the market's not that hard to figure out. You just have to stay the course.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And
right.
so many people get wiggly.
Oh yeah. Especially like, I mean, think about like, I think a lot of people that are newer that have, for some reason, I feel like COVID and the way the market collapsed got a lot of new people in. Especially, I was reading some articles today on just like how many Robinhood new users have popped up over the last 3 months.
Sure.
And these people are all jumping in and trading when the market's been one of the hottest periods in the last few years, really, if you think about post the biggest dip. And then yesterday, it was just, to me, it's funny, but it's funny to see these people who, it was the first probably real test they've had as an investor to see like what you got, you know what I mean? That it's not going to be, green and off to the races every single day as an investor. Yesterday was like the first, not at all, especially if you've been in it for a while,
Dude, I mean, yeah, that's what I tell everybody. It's like, listen, if you're managing your portfolio, like if you are returning, and I don't mean 1 year, I don't mean 2 years, I'm talking about over an extended period of time. If you are getting a 20% return on your portfolio, you're a fucking boss. Like that is fucking good. If you are getting a 25% return on your portfolio every year, you need to be a hedge fund manager. Like those are gold standard people.
Definitely.
So people see the market now and they look at fuck your return, fuck what you've done in 4 months. I'm talking about like over time. If you can return 15% on your money every year, you know what the fuck you're doing.
Yeah.
So the problem is people get in, they're like, oh, dude, I'm up this much. Okay, great. The market, it has roared. It's ripped and roared. dude, it goes down, it goes up, let's look at a 5-year snapshot.
100%. Do you, just from your perspective, do you think where we're at is the market, I guess, is it overinflated right now? Do you think there's like more of this COVID to come? I mean, obviously with all of the horrible George Floyd in the news, all that stuff that's going on, I think it's kind of covered up a lot of what's going on with COVID recently.
Yeah.
So I'm curious what your thoughts are on just kind of like what the next, really at the end of the rest of this year looks like.
So it's we're gonna have to pay the price because we're at a 13.2% unemployment rate, even though that's an improvement, from what it was. 13.2% unemployment is, outside of last month, that's the highest I've ever seen in my lifetime.
Yeah.
So the market right now has yet to address the economic severe recession that we're going into. That's just a fact. So I'm cautious. I'm cautious right now, and that's why I talked about right when we got on about being agile, because when you pump $10 trillion of liquidity into the market, right, you have to think about inflation, because
Right.
all of our money isn't worth what it was when you put $10 trillion from the federal government. So it's like, that's the thing about the market. Sometimes you need to take your gains and pull them the fuck off the table. But then everyone says, it's like, oh, I would have made this much more. And that's why I always say, nobody ever got hurt taking a profit.
Yeah,
Nobody
that's a good.
ever got hurt taking a profit. So listen, keep playing, but I'm telling you, the financial, like the financial principles, which are what they are, tell us that this recession and this $10 trillion that's been pumped in, we are going to pay for that. When? The geniuses know that. I don't know that.
Yeah.
When? I don't know. So be aware. If you have an absurd gain, if you're up 50% in a month on something, fucking take some profits, dude. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah. Yeah. I know. I was gonna say I had one last week. Have you heard of Nikola yet?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I had invested in them last Friday and then woke up Monday and it was up 120, what was it, 115%?
Oh yeah.
So
And now
yeah.
it came down,
Yeah.
so
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So there's, yeah, to your point, there's a lot of those. I feel like I've been investing consistently since, yeah, like 2012, 2013. I've just
Okay.
never seen some of these days for the entire index that's swinging like yesterday, almost 6%. I'm like, what
I
the
know.
fuck? Yeah.
Well,
Yeah. So
Nicola's a great example because, like, I was watching CNBC when they were talking about that, and they brought in the CEO of Ford afterward, and this company that has never built a truck had a larger market cap. I think it was 29
yeah.
billion than Ford.
Right.
Ford's market cap was 28 billion. Nikola was 29 billion. So if you don't look at that and say, okay, if I did get in, I probably should sell my shit, because right now I'm buying a story. And if
Right.
I've profited on a story, I need to take my gains, man.
And get out. Yeah, I'm with you. Because that's an interesting one because I was looking too. I mean, they don't even have a factory yet.
Dude,
Like
they have drawings,
yeah, right,
okay? Uh,
Too funny, too funny. Well, that's interesting. I think there's going to be a lot to learn over the next 6 months, and I think for me, it's been helpful to even just to have this podcast and talk to people like you. And it's a lot of reflection. I think after COVID's kind of behind us, on a lot of lessons learned on things that can help all of us through investing in the
yeah.
future. Are you thinking, as far as like we started to talk about this a lot today in this episode, but like starting new businesses, are you being more hesitant and a little more conservative when it comes to like being holding cash, I guess, versus starting anything new with everything going on? I'm very curious of people like you who own a few businesses, like what some of your
Sure.
strategies are like in this interim where like we just really don't know what the fuck the next 6 months are going to look like.
Yeah, so I think there's probably going to be some amazing opportunities in real estate, because not only are you seeing people go out of business everywhere, but that trickles down to people not being able to pay their mortgage,
Right.
which trickles down to home prices dropping and things like that. So I have my eye on real estate because there's always a domino effect. Nobody knows how fast it's going to happen, but when you see businesses gone, that means jobs are gone. That means people who used to work there are going to have trouble paying for their rent and all these other things. So I think there's going to be some very, very interesting real estate based opportunities. Me right now, I'm not deploying uh, any uh, of my basically cash supply, if you will. I'm keeping it there because I don't think the markets have grabbed uh, this recession yet, and I don't think businesses have really felt it yet. I could be wrong, but looking at a 13.2% unemployment number, that is a monster fucking number.
Right.
So
Yeah, I was gonna say there's the unemployment numbers. I mean, I work in downtown Chicago, and I've been home since March. We're now expected to stay home minimally until Labor Day, and then a lot of the people I am neighbors with or friends with that work in the city. I mean, a lot of people now are expecting us to be home if you're working in an office setting until potentially next summer. Which, if that's true, I always think about, like, there's so many things. I mean, even just Chicago, for example, like how many different businesses was it where I normally was spending money?
exactly.
I'm not now, right? And to your point, like,
The commute, the lunch, the
oh
gas
yeah,
station, grab your fucking energy drink, all these things, this mass migration away from the workplace, and you're in your home. Um, Man, it's going to take out a huge amount of businesses. It's just you can't deny that.
yeah, no, not at all. I mean, to your point, yeah, like the coffee spot I always hit before I got on the train. Yeah, I mean, lunch is just, I mean, it's endless things. So to me, it's funny. It seems like such an I don't hear a lot of people talking about this. It's just ironic that we're talking today, and you have such a deep understanding of it. But it seems like such a hot time to even start e-commerce platforms, like whatever it is online. It just seems like
Yes.
it's the time. And, like, to me, that's like could be the biggest takeaway from all this is, like, if you didn't start whatever your business is or the business you want online, like, this was the time to do it.
And you're exactly right, and that's why you always hear me talk about Shopify, because to me they are e-commerce, right? And
100%.
everybody is realizing what you just said, and so you're absolutely right. Now is the time to go online. People are a percentage of people are spooked by spending money in physical places like they used to, so that money is going to go and be spent online. It's just a fact.
A fact. I'm 100% with you.
Yeah.
Um, awesome. Well, I just have a last couple questions. We've been rolling for an hour, so I want to be cognizant of, your time and everything too.
Sure.
Um, you being an entrepreneur, one of the things that I like to ask entrepreneurs on here is, this is a really tactical question, but do
Yeah.
you have any, tools or things you use? Like, what do you use on a daily basis to stay productive and focused on all the different things you're managing?
So what I use is just is just habit, and it's boring to most, but it is such a disciplined, habit based day where it doesn't matter if one of my friends is having a party or this or that. My businesses and my interests in what they need me to go to bed by 10:30, right? They need me to wake up by 7. They need me to exercise and be done by 9:30 or 10 o'clock. And then they need me to aggressively use from, 10 to 7 p.m. to destroy they need that from me. I am like, I am so regimented. Like, anyone who knows me, they can tell you what I'll be doing at a certain time. So I think what you need is that structure. You can't afford to go to your friend's party on Thursday, sleep in late, because there's too many things depending on you. You need to have a semi obsessive, boring to most, but to me it's not, schedule that needs you in places, and you understand it, and you don't bitch about it, you accept it.
Got it. No, love that. So instead of getting focused on a app or a notebook strategy used to keep track, it's really just a legitimate religious almost schedule for you.
Exactly. That does not bend or break for anything but maybe Christmas.
Yeah. Okay. Got it. Love it. That's something I'm seeing as a consistent thing as I talk to entrepreneurs is kind of like this. What's the right word? It's really like a focus on autonomy too. It's like you control your schedule. I think the more you can control your time, and it sounds like you control all of it, probably the more successful you
Absolutely.
can be. Yeah.
And you have to stop feeling guilty about not giving others your time. So we all have friends, we all have family that call us. And I think it's natural to feel guilty. Oh, I got to call you back. Like, no, dude, you're taking care of your business. If you let up, like, if there's one thing that will distract you and take away your ability to be successful, it's you allowing others to take your eye off the ball because you feel bad because you think you owe them your fucking time. You don't owe them shit. You owe them respect, man. Take care of your business. Talk to them when you have time.
100%. I love that one. Yeah, because that's something honestly, through my career, I've had to like really work on is just like that. Yeah, I'm one of those people that always feel bad to your exact point if I'm not getting back to you quick enough. And then
Right.
over probably the last year or so, I've tried to be really diligent on like I need to get done with X, Y, and Z no matter what today. After that, I can deal with other things if I have time. So to your point, I think that's probably
Right.
key no matter what you do. Do you obviously have had you've started a lot of businesses, you're an investor. Are you like a book reader at all? Is there any books you would recommend to anyone who, either wants to start a business or wants to get into investing or, or just in general, like a favorite book that you would recommend to anyone?
Yeah, I have an extreme outlook, probably more extreme than most, and anyone who's heard my other podcast. I treat the Art of War like it's a Bible, and anyone who doesn't know what the Art of War is, yeah, I do read new books here and there, but I find myself going back to that constantly, like a very religious person will go back to the Bible because it is all about strategy, mental strategy, preparation, the battlefield, aka you and your competitors. And these are ethics and morals and thoughts that were, bred and written down 1,000 years ago that are so accurate and on point today. So I really just I use that as almost a study guide to just keep my mind sharp.
Got it. Love that. Okay. Awesome. The Art of War. Um,
Sun Tzu, Suntzu. He was the best feudal. He was the best general in feudal Japan. He basically, his whole strategy was winning every battle before it even started, and he did that.
oh, wow. Okay. Got it. Yeah, I haven't read that, but I'll definitely add that to my list of the next thing to get hit up.
Oh yeah.
Um, that's really my last two questions. What's a good way for people to, follow you, get a hold of you? How do you usually do that? Because I know you're not a huge social media guy.
Yeah, I mean, I have an Instagram account. It's just my name at John Fosco, Fosco. I don't really like to post much. I don't comment much. I'll check. I'll check it, but I'm a believer in that social media is great for business. It's a great marketing tool. It's phenomenal. But for personal life, I think it's a experiment that we have not seen. The full effects of, and I personally believe it's very dangerous for the human mind because it puts you into a fake world that rewards you based on this fucked up reward system that's ego based. So I kind of steer clear of that. But if you really want to reach out, you could reach out to my Instagram.
Got it. Okay. So you got a strong mentality on social media in general. It's funny. I haven't never said that out loud, but I honestly feel a very similar way.
I mean, why do we do things on, so why do people do things on social media? How many likes do I have? How many views? It's this ego reward system that's all fake. These
Yeah.
are people you don't know, but you're putting your self-worth into the number of likes you get and views. Like how fucking weak are you of a fucking person?
That's so true.
And you're willing to put on a fucking clown hat and mask and dance around so you get a couple fucking more views. bro,
Yeah.
grow the fuck up.
Right. Right. And then you, at the end of the day, you look at how much time you spent just scrolling. I think that's good. I think over time we'll learn that that was more
Yeah,
detrimental than we could have imagined.
exactly. You want to find out how to be not successful?
Yeah.
Scroll. Yeah.
John Fosco said it here first. Stop
Yes.
scrolling.
Stop fucking
Uh,
scrolling.
so thank you so much.
Yeah,
I
man.
was I was going to show I got my max effort amino recovery here. Love
Oh
this stuff.
yeah.
It's my
Very good.
favorite. Yeah, absolutely. Had to make
Fantastic.
sure I threw that on here.
Thank
So
you.
absolutely. Thank you so much for taking the time. As you said, you're a
Yeah.
busy guy. You have a very regimented schedule. So I appreciate you spending the hour here on Simply Finance. It was super helpful. And
Yeah, man.
I hope that added value for you. I'm sure this adds a ton of
Absolutely.
value for my listeners. So I can't thank you enough. And next time you're in Chicago, let me know. We should meet up for a coffee, a drink, something. I'd like to meet you in person.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate it, Shane, and keep doing your thing, man. You got a great little show going on that I'm sure is growing fast. So good shit. I appreciate the conversation, and I'm sure we will talk soon.
Yeah, let's do it again, John. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
All right, buddy. Have a good day.
Awesome, man. You too. See ya.
Bye bye.
Thank you.